It was Dwayne Bravo final match in front of his own crowd at the Queen's Park Oval. It was a thrilling, exciting, and intriguing match, but his longtime teammate and World Cup colleague Andre Russell ensured that it ended on a winning note. On many occasions, I got the feeling that the Trinbago Night Riders crowd is not too much a supporter of Andre Russell, but last night they were singing his praises as he clobbered the bowling to all part of the ground. Many questions have been asked about the captaincy of Shai Hope. I think he did a good job, but let's hear what you have to say. To react to last night's match between the Trinbago Night Riders and the Guyana Amazon Warriors in front of a packed crowd at the Queen's Park Oval, I invited Basil Butcher, who is a supporter of the Guyana Amazon Warriors, to join us this morning as we go through the match. Hello, Basil, and welcome to the Caribbean #1 cricket channel once more.
Thank you, Carlton, for inviting me, and good morning to your viewers.
Yes, I would want to say thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate your company, and I look forward to the interactions with you guys. Basil, just setting the stage last night, it was Darren Bravo final match for the TKR in front of his own crowd. I think they pull out all the stock to make it a joyous occasion for him.
Yeah, they sure did. They came away with a victory that I thought they would have wrapped up the game with plenty of us to spare. Guyana, I think that with Pretorius and Shepherd gave us. I'm saying us because as you said earlier, I'm an Amazon Warriors supporter. We a score that we could a score to defend, because at one point it looked like we wouldn't score 100. Yes.
So Basil, give us your overall view of the match. Where you think that Trinidad really won the match? We know of Russell innings, but where you think Trinidad really won the match, and where you think Guyana lost the match?
I think to begin with, where Guyana lost the match was putting up such a paltry score. Well, they claimed they said that, I understand, 155 is par there at Queen's Park Oval for T20s. So I would say Guyana was about 15 runs or so short, and losing the wickets in the fashion that we did in our top order really push us back, the Guyana Warriors back on the back foot. So that's where it started. There were mistakes in how Guyana fought back violently, but I think again Shai Hope may have made some errors in his use of the bowling resources that he had at his disposal. Because we look, for example, Moeen Ali bowled 2 overs for 5 runs, never bowled again. Moti again bowled only 2 overs, right? Now, the thing about it, there was also a catch dropped, albeit it was not an easy catch, dropped by Junior Sinclair off of Russell. Had they gotten Russell, then probably most likely could have won the match, right? So there's accumulation of errors starting with our batting that played a role. I understand some people talked about that Shepherd not bowling, but from what I understand, Shepherd has a toe injury, and anyone who knows about a fast bowler, that if your toe is bothering you, that's the last thing you could do is bowl. But you can bat. You can bat with a toe that is not 100%, but bowling with a toe that is not 100%, from the first delivery you might start limping, because with every ball that toe jams into your boot. That's why you often see lots of fast bowlers cut holes if you're right-handed in their left boot, because when they hit they land on that foot, the foot goes forward and into the front of the shoe. So to prevent the toenails getting torn off or the toe getting bloody, they would cut a hole so the toe can has space to just go through.
Basil, let us look at the Guyana Amazon Warriors batting. In particular, after this dismissal, I think both Shai Hope and Shimron Etmire, the two key batsmen in this Guyana Amazon Warriors batting lineup, I think both of them just were soft dismissal, throw away their wicket.
I agree. I was very disappointed in Hetmeyer. Again, this is 2 matches now that he came into situations, as I use the phrase, he's the big bats of the team. So there is responsibility that comes that he, like the game against Barbados, which they lost, you have to, you being that big bats, your responsibility is to bat as deep as possible. You have the ability to score at fast rates. You don't have to come out blazing all the time or take extra risks, because you could make it up. Look at De Kock in the same match we lost against Barbados. The Warriors lost against Barbados. De Kock was batting on the 100 strike rate in the power play of all places, but yet De Kock made it up in the middle overs. And what was more striking about De Kock's inning was that he played every ball on its merit for the most part. He did not go out there slugging, and yet he did what he did. And we know De Kock is one of the most destructive batters in the sport.
Yes, I was doing a watch along at the time, Basil, and when Shimron Etmire got out, I got the feeling that he didn't look at the field, because I believe that he could have either played that ball earlier or played later, and he would have missed the field. Do you think that more and more of that is coming into the West Indies batsmanship, where the batsmen are not really looking at their field? Because that's the impression that I got. He never knew Hussein was there.
I'll tell you something. I remember years ago listening to a program. Was a commentary, and the commentator, one of the commentators, told a story, having been in conversation with Darren Ganga and Brian Lara, and the question was asked to the two of them: what is the first thing you do when you come in as a batter, come to bat? And Ganga said, take my guard, and then I look around the field to see where the fielders are. And then Lara interjected, why are you looking where the fielders are? You'll be looking where the gaps are, because that's where you want to hit the ball. So you look around the field looking for the gaps. And that story struck me in what you just raised, because as you correctly said, Hetmeyer played that ball later, and also playing that ball with a more vertical bat would have been hitting the ball between mid-wicket and mid-on, in the gap that was there, because there was a huge gap, right? But he played the ball with a horizontal bat, and with a horizontal bat, the place where the ball would most likely go was where it went into Mr. Mahan's hands. Hussein.
Yes. Well, there are many occasions that one thought that Shepherd came in too late to bat. Last night he had 8 overs, and we saw what he can do. He made a 47 last night or something like that.
No, 51.
Oh, sorry, my apology. He made 51. Yes, so he made 51 from 24 deliveries, hitting 3 fours and 4 sixes. He, along with Pretorius, who made 21 from 25 deliveries. Pretorius hit 2-4, rescued the Guyana with that 72 runs, 8-wicket partnership to carry them to a respectable total. Do you see Shepherd batting improving from what it was a year ago, Basil?
I think Shepherd is still the same batter. Shepherd has shown, even at the international game, some of what he showed last night. to be very destructive in the death overs. When I would say I think he has improved is when I see him when he's gonna be playing against really quality spinners, batting in those at that time against quality spin and how he negotiates them. Now, last night he did have the chance to have to negotiate Mr. Narayan and so on late in the inning, which he did successfully. So I would say yes, he's on the
Up.
ascension to improving that part of his batting. Because as we know, regardless what we think if Narayan is pelt or not, he is still a formidable opponent to any batter in the T20 game.
Yes. Okay. So Guyana Amazon Warriors made 148 for 7 last night. At the break, I thought that was a small score.
Me too.
Then, and however, there was a live poll going on in the chat, and it
Mhm.
was almost 50-50 because 48% of the persons believe that Guyana Amazon Warriors would still have won, although they only made it 48.
Mhm.
They came very close to winning.
Yes.
Let's. We are going to talk about Russell, but what happened to Puran? Why he batted like that last night? What do you think was the issue?
I I think sometimes Puran's ego gets ahead of him as a batter, and maybe Puran could take a page out of the inning that we saw DeCock played the other night when he made the 100 and adapt some of that approach to his batting. Because just like DeCock, Puran could make up at any time. He don't have to be hitting everybody out of the ground. And to be frank, I would like to see Puran hit more fours, i.e., hitting the ball along the ground more, so he lowers the risk of getting out, but still scoring steadily, as we saw with the cock. The cock hit a lot of balls along the ground to score runs.
Yes. He made 19 from 17 deliveries, 1-4-1-6. That's a strike rate of about 111. It was
Mhm.
unusual from him.
Yes,
As the bowlers work out Puran and bowl to him in the right place last night.
I think they did. They kept him quiet, and I think also the match, there was probably Puran was feeling some pressure. Um, remember, Guyana and Trinidad match is a big match, right? It's a big rivalry. It's not just the simple CPL game. When those two teams play against each other, there's heightened pressure, and more so playing in front of his home crowd, wailing and making all kinds of noise. Puran probably felt, look, I'm going to be a little more circumspect, or maybe the bowlers were more able to contain him bowling the ball in the right areas.
Before Russell came to the crease, I really thought that the Guyana Amazon Warriors were in charge of this match.
Me too.
Yeah, yes, but Russell then showed his class. As I
Mhm.
said at the start of this show, on many occasions, I got the impression that Russell is not a favorite of the Trinidad and Tobago public. He's not a
Mhm.
favorite of TKR fan base.
Mhm.
But last night, they were singing his praises. It was a magnificent innings, Basil. Talk
Mhm.
to us about Russell's six hitting ability last night.
Yeah, before just to add to what you're saying in terms of not being a fan favorite, because I think Russell in the past he had at several occasions broken the hearts of the Trinidadians. So although now he's playing for their team, they also have those memories of him breaking their hearts in regional in CPL games in the past, and if not mistaken, he also did it in a regional game. I remember. I think I remember him doing it there, right there in Trinidad. But yeah, Russell, he got off with the drop catch, and he made Guyana pay for that mistake. And yes, we all know Russell on his day is one of the most destructive six hitting batters in the world in T20 cricket. And he put that on full display last night. Um, I think I see some people, some friends of mine and others saying, oh, why did Bowler leg break Bowler to Russell and so on. But if you go back and look at the history, Russell has struggled against good leg break bowling. So I was like, why wouldn't they? But on yesterday he got off on that bowler. But we have seen many times where Russell has been bamboozled by good leg break bowling. And I would have wanted to see Moti, because Moti has the ability to challenge both edges of the bat. To Moti to have had a go at Russell. And I was disappointed. Hope did not have the confidence to try either Moti or even try Moeen Ali, because Moeen Ali is a wily competitor, and he has competed against Russell for many years, so he knows Russell inside out, and he is a guy that has the ability to put the ball in the areas where he could quiet or get a batter out. We have seen it over and over.
Yes. And you made a point there that persons were asking why they bowl a leg spinner to Andre Russell, and you made a very good counterpoint. But what struck me from persons asking those questions is a pessimism. They never seem to want to appreciate a good knock and are always finding the excuse even when the player played a good innings.
Yeah, I have to
You
I have
meant
to I have to credit Russell that he was able to negate, and that's what elite players are supposed to do. Even you have a weakness, you figure out a way in which you could negate it on a given day and bring home a victory, like he did for his team last night.
yes. And you spoke about Gudakesh Moti not bowling. I have seen in the chat last night and even in the comment section from the watch along where persons are questioning the captaincy of Shai Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Moti, number 3 ranked T20 bowler in the
Mm-hmm.
world, only bowled 2 overs. You
Mm-hmm.
know, as you said, Moeen Ali could have bowled. Oh, what is your rating of Shai Hope? And as someone said, this team cannot win without Imran Tahir at the end. What are your thoughts?
Um, I mean, right now, Shea Hope are giving him a C- as captain. Because I think in both games he's captain thus far, there is some dubious decisions, particularly in how he used his bowlers. Um, and in a guy like Moti, even if Moti get hit for like 20 runs in 2 overs, you don't give up on Moti, because those kind of bowlers have the ability to come back and do damage. Right? That's T20 cricket. You're gonna get hit, but you don't give up on bowlers like that, because as you rightly pointed out, Moti's ranking in the world. This is now West Indian. This is in the world in terms of T20 cricket. That you have to be put to back such players all the way. And I think Hope is, I don't know why um he's not doing it. I would love to hear his rationale for not bowling such bowlers. Because the other day against Barbados, you had the guy Sinclair. Sinclair had bowled 3 overs for 18 or something and couldn't bowl a fourth over. And you had a left-handed batter. And as we know, this whole matchup thing today, left-handed batter, you want to spin it to both of them. And
Yeah, but yeah. But what about those who defend Shea Hope last night and said Juna Sinclair dropped? You said it wasn't a easy catch. I differ on that, but that's okay.
Mhm.
And for Juna Sinclair dropping the catch, and if he had taken that chance, then it would be a different match, and then Guyana and Shea Hope would have won the match.
Yeah. Um, in under normal circumstances, that was a regulation catch. But when I meant difficult, you remember he slipped. He slipped going for the ball because obviously the outfield was somewhat thing. And that made it difficult. But yes, that's a regulation catch, right? Under
Yes.
normal circumstances. Yeah, and what you're saying there is that is a very fair point. Because he taken the catch, Guyana win the match. All the machinations about how Hope used the bowlers, you may not hear it as loud as if the Guyana team losing the match. But I think despite winning, you always want to look what things you could have done better. And I think he could have done better in that area in the way he has managed the bowlers. In both games he's captain, regardless of the results.
Basil, I put it to you that although Shai Hope is a designated captain of this Guyana Amazon Warriors team, the sole reason why they went for Tahir to captain this team is that once Tahir is not in charge, Edmire and Paul is going to rule whosoever captain. And a lot of those decisions last night has to go through Edmire and Paul.
I agree. I agree totally. I agree totally. The two of them would feel they got more leeway with Hope than they would with Tahir. Not that Tahir don't listen. Tahir listens to everybody. Because I've seen that last year when they won. The times that Tahir would huddle with listen to the points from all the various players, but maybe with Hope they feel they have more leeway in telling Hope what to do or what not to do. And maybe that is the reason why the two of them were not named the interim captain.
Yes. That is not maybe, Basil. It is the reason why neither of them are captain in the team. Although someone said that Paul would have been a better captain. Some think that Edmire is a future West Indies captain.
Yeah.
But those two bulls just cannot reign in the same pen.
Mm-mm.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
And so Basil, looking forward now, many persons believe that these two teams are going to play 4 matches this year. They're going to play qualifier 1 and again meet in the final. That is your view?
I from a sentimental perspective, being a Warriors fan, that is my hope and desire. However, I raised some concerns on a program with the manager was on the program, Leon Johnson. One, our opening batting has been iffy. Well, he countered and said, well, last year when we won, we had a similar problem, right? But I think the problem is not similar in that you don't have the same quality actors up there this time around, right?
I don't cut your Basil, but I also do not think it's a similar problem because the problem last year was with one batsman. Mm-hmm. This year it is 2 batsmen.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The similarity in the problem is that the opening partnership thing was a very iffy thing, right? But this year, unlike last year, you had Ayub was there for the whole season, right? So you had a guy who scored over 400 runs opening the batting. We don't have nothing like that at the top of the order this year. So the problem is compounded. Now, he said also the middle order picked up the slack. I will argue this year our middle order is nothing in compared to their production of last year. And then, they talk about the engine room, which is Shepherd and Pretorius. Well, we're still good in that sense because, again, this quote-unquote engine room is what saved the day to give it at least a respectable score last night. So I have concerns about the Guyana batting lineup. And at times, their bowling lineup in the death overs, because if you remember the game against Barbados, we had the Amazon Warriors had Barbados at a good place after 18 overs and gave up 43 runs in those last 2 overs, which pushed them over 200. So now when you're chasing 200, you know that every time you get a dot ball, that exorbitant run rate goes up and up, and that scoreboard pressure becomes a real thing in chasing a high total.
Basil, last week you said that you are picking Guyana Amazon Warriors to win the tournament
Yes.
because it's your team. You are from Guyana.
Mhm.
Now, was that an emotional pick or a rational pick? And
No,
in
it
this,
was it was an emotional pick.
so
Emotional
this
pick.
so this morning, now rationally, do you
I
think?
Yes,
Go
go ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. No, as I said, I have concerns, and I raised those concerns as I've been watching this team, right? And when I look at Barbados, in my view, Barbados have not played their best cricket, and they've played pretty good thus far. And in my view, they have not played their best cricket because look, Barbados got a batter in Miller who has yet to come to the party. And you know Miller's gonna come to the party. Quality like that is not gonna stay down for a whole tournament, right? Which is gonna make Barbados even more dangerous. You know, Barbados has a good bowling attack, right? With a guy like the cock at the order, then you got Mill in the middle, then you got a world class spinner in Maharaj that could out anybody, right or left handed, right? All those things say to me, Barbados is a team that is to beat. Trinidad is a serious team also because Trinidad got three top-notch spinners. The guy from Afghanistan is bowling his lights out this year, and then you got the two world-class guys in Hussein and Narain. So you got 12 overs of serious bowling, you know, that where most teams often struggle, as we know in this T20 cricket, is in the middle overs. Who dominates in the middle overs is spinners. And Trinidad got that locked, as you would see.
Thank
So,
you very much. Merrick, good morning to you, Merrick. TV and cricket out of Florida. Good morning to you. He's saying that the game was very competitive. Russell and David had a good knock at the end to get the win. Yes, we agree with that. We have not
yes.
talked about David. We have ignored
Yeah,
David.
yeah.
I recall
David,
saying that David has the ability to clear the boundary just like Russell. So
correct.
Guyana Amazon Warriors supporters should not feel that the threat can only come from one end.
I
David is
agree.
also dangerous, Basil.
David plays international cricket. David forced his way into the Australian team because of what you just described, doing that in domestic leagues. Because David, before that, came into playing domestic cricket, having represented not his native Australia, but his adopted home country of Singapore in associate cricket. He wasn't playing for Australia, but
Yes.
because of that ability you just described, Australia said, wait, this is an Australian. We need to have him in the team.
Yes. Athena is saying, greetings, good people. Shakira Paris, the door is open. Go brave, young man. I often mention Basil, and I've been talking about this for probably a year now, that I have a lot of time for Shakira Paris.
Mm-hmm.
My challenge that I have with Shakira Paris, he doesn't appears to give his all. He for want of a better word, he sometimes comes across as lackadaisical and not tuned in. What do
Mm-hmm.
you think about Shakira Paris?
I think he's a bright talent, and it will be incumbent that we able to give him the support, guidance, and create the environment for him to develop into a world class player. I see what you're talking about would be reminiscent of your countryman Marlon Samuels, who often at times look like because their guy, or even the great Carl Hooper, guys that don't wear the emotion on their sleeve, and when they get out or they do something that you feel as a fan they didn't do well, and their face look deadpan, like whatever, what I mean. You don't, because we as fans, we always want to see like the players really care, just like how much we care, you know. But Paris is a young guy. He's getting opportunity at this level. I think he has acquitted himself pretty decently. But it's gonna be how we work with a guy like Paris to continue this journey to becoming a world class player if he would ever get there.
Yes, but he must take personal responsibility, Basil.
Oh yes,
I always said the cow has to drink the water.
exactly.
You do everything, you take the cow to the river, but in the end, the cow has to drink the water. And there was one time last night, I think it was Narayan bowling, when the ball hit straight over Paris' head, and when they showed the replay,
He
his
should have
foot
been on the ball.
hardly came off the ground. And,
Yeah.
and that is a type of attitude. You can look cool and relaxed, Basil.
Yes, yes.
Nothing wrong with
But the
looking
effort,
cool and relaxed.
the
But the
effort.
effort must be there.
Yes, I
You
agree.
can't just putting up your hand and just think that the ball is gonna stuck when you need to jump.
And
And those are the things. And you saw that in his batting too. Because I remember the other night he was running from pace. I think it was Nokia or one of those guys who were running real fast. He was running from the pace. That
well,
doesn't
here.
that doesn't takes away from the point that I believe that he's a very good batsman. I have a lot of time for him,
Mhm.
but he must work on his attitude. Go ahead, Basil.
You have described two things that will have to improve for him to become a world class player, right? Um, I saw the thing last night, and to me, I thought it was a mistake on his part from where he was positioned. His anticipation of that catch was poor, because the one thing we often say, you never want a ball to be hit over your head and then drop inside the boundary, especially if you're a boundary rider. It tells me one or two things. You came too far off the boundary initially, or your anticipation of the catch was poor, that you started coming forward or just stood there and not retreated back to give yourself enough room to make the catch. And what you're talking there too about the running from pace, those are things, because one of the things he will have to learn, part of becoming an elite player, world class, their intangibles. One is having the heart, having the guts, that you have to understand. You have to find a way to deal with pace, because if you don't, you ain't gonna last, and you're gonna be found out quickly, and your career will be over.
I I believe one of the things too, Basil, that if you are zoning, and I saw this and I said this about Mackenzie too, because I also think that Mackenzie is a good player, but I am not seeing those guys zoning. It's like that tunnel vision. When the bowler is running in, when you are on the cricket field, you forget everything else and concentrate on that ball. That's all you need to concentrate on that ball and react appropriately. And I saw it, and I hope these two young men will really put on that tunnel vision and focus and concentrate, because I think the sky is the limit for them.
Yeah,
I,
I want to just add on to what you're saying. Again, what you're just talking about there, that is a characteristic of a world class or elite player, right? And these guys, because of the environment in which they play in, they can afford to turn off and turn on, or be turned off and not always focus, and still be successful because of the standard of the cricket they play in, generally in the Caribbean.
yes, Michael Jordan is saying that Russell never broke our hearts. Yes, he took away
Well,
some games from us, but Russell always got love from TT. And just reply to both comment together. He's also saying that Moti against Puran would have been trouble for Guyana. Don't agree, but that's his view, and I respect it.
well, who
Yes, last night Puran wasn't on point, but spin to Puran is licks, especially a left-handed.
I
You
guess he
can react
forgot.
to both his comments, Basil.
I guess he forgot it was Mr. Maharaj that dismissed Puran when they played against Trinidad Barbados. That's number one. Number two, What you mean? If a guy taking away games from my team, that is why. Well, let me just let him know. I view that as getting my heart broken by that guy. He come and take away the game when it looked like we had the game won, and he come and take away the game. I view that as breaking my heart. So it's semantics.
Okay. Uh, um, TV and cricket power play saying, Carlton, you make a good point. Russell needs some credit for his batting. Yes, we have to give him credit. There
Yeah.
can't be so much pessimism. Um, Michael again is saying, I find it funny that when Narayan was playing for the Warriors, he wasn't pelting, but now he is. Basil,
Narayan has always been pelting. Mr. Jordan, Narayan, let me just tell you something, Mr. Jordan. I saw Narayan as an under 19 player at the World Cup in 2006 because I was there with the USA on the 19 team. We were playing the West Indies. And let me tell you what was the first words out of my mouth when Narayan came on to bowl. I jumped up and said, what kind of pelt man West Indies bring here for we? And I look over to the West Indies dugout in the pavilion. One of them, my good friend Roddy Eswick was the coach. Look at me. I said, don't look at me, Roddy. He pelting. So he has been a pelter from day one to now. So don't come with that, Mr. Jordan.
so, all right. Nile Alexander is saying that they dropped Azam Khan at the wrong time. More batting needed. Do you agree with that, Basil?
Nah. Azam Khan is shown to be a joke so far. You got to sit down. Come on.
Okay.
We here, Carlton, we had capable guys that did not perform last night. And everybody, because the spin, he could play the spin. Well, those guys that got out, all of them could play spin too. None of them are deficit in playing spin. We know Shai Hope is a good player spin. He got stumped. Those things happen.
Yes. You had explained earlier why Shepherd never bowled. So could you just briefly this time explain it again for Roblox Game Boy 3?
I think because the reason Shepherd had been out, he got hit on his toe in practice. And as we know, as a bowler, your big toe, as a fast bowler more than anything else, if it's your left foot big toe that get injured, bowling can cause more problems. So Guyana, he was able now to bat, right? He could move around and bat now with the toe. But bowling might have caused an issue. So I think they probably was cautious. Because I think under any circumstances, other than some that concern is why he didn't bowl. Because he is one of he is our top seamer. He is our number one seamer. So I think they're being cautious that they want to make sure Shepherd, would be fully fit and available for the business end of the tournament.
But Basil, after it appears, after Russell was teeing off, shouldn't they have given him even one over and said, Shepherd, we needed to out this man?
Well, I can't talk for the guy in the camp because maybe he was selected on the condition he would not be bowling. We don't know that, but I am surmising that is probably why. Because I can't see no other reason for the guy who was our number one seamer and he didn't bowl.
Randy Beckers is making a good point. That was a good game. As a Warrior fan, I enjoyed it thoroughly. Well, I don't know how you enjoyed it as a Warrior fan and they lose and they lost. I mean, well, you are somewhat you're special, Randy Beckers. You're absolutely special because I cannot enjoy a game that West Indies lose. I can't. So Randy Beckers, credit to you. Enough credit and enough respect to you.
Yes.
West Indies cricket has won last night. Well, I can agree with that.
Yes.
You were entertained. Good to see Russell under the Shane Warne copycat. Yes, that also happened. Basil, react to Randy Becker's comment there for me now.
I can't talk. When you say he enjoyed it thoroughly, I enjoy the game up to when we lose. No, I can't say thoroughly. I mean, I was very proud of the guys. We put up 148. It was respectable, and then able to take the game despite all the Russell heroics and others. I mean, at the bottom there, to take that game into the last over, I think was a great credit. But I did not enjoy that because when we take it to the last over, I don't want to win the game. You know?
Yeah. As far as TVN is saying, Paris have the ability, and we spoke about he's a very good prospect, but he just need more confidence getting international game. I made a point last night about all these youngsters that we saw them play innings or two, and
Yes.
and
We
we
get
then
excited.
zone them in on international cricket.
Mm-hmm.
The point I made last night is that Kamundu Mendes from Sri Lanka,
Mm-hmm.
who have passed 50 in every test that he have played in his life, every
Yes.
test match,
Mm-hmm.
albeit only 7 test match, but he
Mm-hmm.
has passed 50 in every one of those matches.
He has the record. He has the record now
He has
because actually he broke a record that my dad and like 5 or 6 other people had when they had scored at least 50 in 5 consecutive test matches at the start of the career. He broke it when he scored the 6th one. I think it was against Pakistan or somebody.
again,
Pakistan.
it was against England in the last series.
Okay.
Yes. So, but the point I want to make about Mendes is that Mendes played 43 first-class matches in Sri Lanka before he got into the test team, averaging over 60 from
Yes.
43 matches. And those of you who followed cricket, first-class cricket, will know that when you compare Sri Lanka first-class structure to ours, despite the criticism, ours is still ahead of Sri Lanka. There are many occasions where their first-class season don't end. It's suspended or abandoned or so on.
Mm-hmm.
But the bigger point I want to make, let our guys perform at regional level consistently first.
Yes.
It's like how the young man averaged 60 odd before he was drafted in the Sri Lankan team. That's what we want from our players, Basil.
Yeah, because Carlton, look, I'll tell you something. We look at England, for example, right? With how they have taken the guy, the off spinner, Bashir, who had minimal first class cricket and has been brought into the test team because he had a skill set that they feel they need for a spin bowler in their team. But you see, a team like England is a very settled team in terms of their personnel, that they can afford to bring in a player like this and groom set player to nurture that player at the highest level because they have a set team. We in the West Indies don't have that luxury. When in the past, for example, when a guy like a Marlon Samuels was brought into the West Indies team, we were still a decent team at that time, with a lot of decent players around the Laras, the Chandapals, Carl Hooper, etc., were still around in those teams. That you could bring a young player like a Samuels with very little experience and nurture him at the highest level. Today, we don't have that luxury. So we have to make sure our young players perform a la like a Mendes and show performances, 1 at the first class level, 2 at the A team level consistently before we will ascend them to the international level. Because what happens, they come into a team that is an inexperienced team, and they have to carry on their shoulders the weight of a veteran player, what they're not ready to do, and they fall off the scene, and we cuss them left and right, and then we got to go to the next. So as soon as we see the next shiny bulb, like I hear people was talking for Joel Andrew, put them in the ODI team right away. You know, well, what has Joel Andrew done since his first couple forays in this tournament, right? So the same with a guy like Paris.
Yes. You know, yes. Thank you, Basil. John Douglas is saying the 16th over to me was the changer. Moti to the two right-handed batsmen. Kimo Paul has shown under pressure. He can't deliver. Point to note 25 runs in the prior match off his overs. Basil, last night when Paul came on to bowl that over, I was saying that he's not going to be able to defend the 11. And clearly, Paul bowling has fallen off.
Yeah, one of the problems I think with one of the things with Paul has always tried to do too much. He would bowl over and want to bowl 6 different type of balls, right? This thing in T20 cricket. Why doesn't he feel that he could bowl a specific ball in the right areas that could quiet a batsman and bowl it again there? Why you just bowl one in that area, quiet the batsman, and you feel you got to do something different, and now the batsman get a hold of you and hit you out to the ground or something? Now, you know, and in the wickets in the Caribbean, we would note when you bowl top of off stump length, you usually got these batters quiet for the most part. Hetmeyer, that ball that Hetmeyer got out was a length ball. Some said it was a long hop, but from where I was looking, it to me looked like a length ball. It looked fuller than a long hop, right? And because of that, the batter now has to make a decision, often not the best decision, to how they're going to play that ball when it's at that length and line, right? And Hetmeyer made the mistake trying to go horizontal back and end up hitting it in somebody's hands, for example.
Basil, here is Kate Diaz, and I really take his comment because that's what we were dealing with. But the last sentence, because you would have answered the first part, but the very last sentence there, was the game fixed to give Bravo a send off?
I can't get into speculating about the game being fixed. You never know, because we know how this world is. But yeah.
One thing I can tell you, Basil, when they turn up in Guyana for that match next week, it will be a noisy.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Here, let me tell you this, Carlton.
And while you tell me, answer this question from Glenn Campbell, who said that if Imran Tahir was a captain last night, Guyana would have won. I don't necessarily agree with that, but go ahead, Basil, with your what you were telling us.
Where it's not necessary Imran Tahir captaincy would have won the game. It would have been in Imran Tahir execution as a bowler that would have made the difference, winning or losing, in my view, right? Because Tahir is a top line leg spinner that threatens both sides of the bat, and he got a very good googly, which is to the detriment of a guy like Russell. But I can't say about whether or not him being the captain would have made the difference. But I think his bowling is something that yes, we sorely miss.
Basil?
Yes.
Now on to another topic. And we'll be very brief here. Word came at the turn of the weekend. I heard it this morning, and I heard it before. Someone in the live chat last night asked me about it. And this morning I heard it on one of Jamaica's most reliable, you could say reputable radio station, that Dr. Shallow, the president of Cricket West Indies, is now entering the foray of politics and is going to be on the opposition slate for the next election in his home country. Do you think that Dr. Shallow should be seeking re-election as president of Cricket West Indies if his focus is now on running a seat in his own country. If political campaign in his own country is as exciting as it is in mine, then the effort and focus that he will need to be successful in that campaign, I, in my humble opinion, do not see how he can remain as Cricket West Indies president. Your thoughts, Basil?
I echo your thoughts, because being a politician, where you have to look after your constituency or what have you, and then to be managing at the helm of a multi-million-dollar enterprise that is spread throughout the Caribbean, that is rife with politics and all kinds of the various things. It, in my view, is something that will have to be looked at carefully. The other part about it, do the rules allow for somebody who is a politician to be an administrator of a international cricket body? Because as we know, ICC has stated about the separation of government interference or involvement, per se, in the administrating of cricket, right? So those are questions that have to be asked. So maybe Mr. Shallow is not looking to run for the next round when when elections come up in March.
For this is a decision that clearly you would have thought about long and hard. I don't think that this is a decision that you would have taken lightly. And I agree with you that he would have probably already made the decision that he's not going back as Cricket West Indies president. So I agree with you. But just on one point though, are you a bit surprised? Because I am wondering if I heard right, because we know how much how much influence the present government in his own country would have influenced him being Cricket West Indies president. We are aware of those information.
Yeah,
And the report said that he's going as a member of the opposition. So
yeah.
is there something going on there, Basil, that we don't know?
That's very interesting, because what you're saying there, because from what I understand, he was a Gonzalez guy. Gonzalez, and people say he was a future prime minister coming through the Gonzalez thing there in St. Vincent. Those were the things I had heard. But now to hear that he's on the slate as a candidate for the opposition is very interesting. I will have to reach out to my friends from St. Vincent to give me some clarity on this situation.
Yes.
And I will report back to you, because
Thank you.
The friends of mine from St. Vincent are opposition people.
It would be interesting to hear their view on the Cricket
Yeah.
West Indies president. It would be very interesting. So, Basil and all of you, I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you again, Basil, for joining us as
Yes.
we look forward to the CPL. As the description I have for the CPL is like on a race course. You have left the back stretch and is running that turn now before you straighten for home. That final bend before you straighten for home. So I think they're running that final bend, and by
Yeah.
next week they will straighten down the home stretch. So Basil, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for being here, and please remember to support the channel. I'll be back with you this evening for the live watch along of the match between the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons and the Trinbago Knight Riders. See you then. Take care. Have a good day.